today, February 25th. It's the end of the month already. Well, we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Any corrections, changes?
I had one question and one correction. I don't have the minutes in front of me. Right here. But where you talk about the enforcement order for 11 Wheatley,
Where is, right in front of me, right?
did we have it in the previous minutes, Sally, that we also issued a no work order? Like, I didn't remember if they were in the previous minutes.
Yes,
Okay, great. And then the correction is for the Moffett property, you say it's worth $600?
oh, sorry,
The price.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, so just add a few zeros. That's it. Other than that, I would make a motion to approve the minutes from the 11th, February 11th.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi, Chuck.
Chuck.
hi Sally.
Chuck.
Yeah,
Yes.
Chuck.
Okay. Moving on. Anything informal? Nothing. Public hearing, theater gross, pond restoration. Sally, did we get anything from DEP?
Nope.
Continued.
Still continued.
37 Mackinac Road, certificate
Nothing yet.
of deployment. Continued. 11 Wheatley Drive. Did you get anything from SK? Anything recent?
No, received their determination of applicability that told them that they had to file notice of intent. I
Mhm.
think we would be wise to put a deadline on that under the
Yeah.
enforcement order and not let it linger forever and ever.
All right, deadline. What's the second meeting next month?
March, the second Tuesday, I don't know. So clarify for me, Sally, is there an existing enforcement order or did that go away now that they have submitted a RDA?
Still an enforcement order. They haven't completed what they were asked to complete, and now they need to
Okay,
Step
now they
up.
need to do a notice of intent.
okay. So what's a reasonable timeframe?
Well, should we send them another notice and then we'll give them, one more meeting?
I think we need to give SK a chance to
Yeah,
continue their review. They were sort of caught short.
second,
my-
second
would
meeting
say-
next month.
I was thinking the first meeting of April,
Okay,
that we expect to have the notice of intent filed by the first meeting in April.
so what's the date for that? So we can give them a date.
Yes, we could. So I have to find it.
I can try to look too.
It would be the 13th.
Okay. So you'll send them a note?
Yes.
Okay. When you're up to it.
How you doing, by the way? You sound better.
Well, I have been up and down.
All right.
Sorry.
RDA for the town of Stockbridge, Board Woods.
We're still waiting for David to be able to get together with the people from GZA. So that's continued, I guess, until we don't have snow on the ground.
It's going quick now.
He
Weather,
thinks the conditions are good.
weather dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Town Beach, town of Stockbridge. Go. Is anybody here?
No,
Well, let me just give you a heads up of what they're talking about. You know where the canoe kayak, what do you call them?
Racks
Right.
Racks used to be
on the right.
on the, yeah, as you drive down on the right. They want to move them from where they are this year back to where they were that year.
Mhm.
And there's a little dock that they want to put in to launch the kayaks from. And they want to put it right to the right, and that's all phragmites and junk in there, and they want to know if they can cut the phragmites down and lay the dock down on top of it and out into the water.
So cut it down or
Cut it,
not treat it,
not treat
just
it,
cut it.
just keep it mowed. So that's my understanding of it. We'll let them come and present it to us. Somebody in person. I think Katie's the one that's pushing for this.
Did they,
Yeah.
I didn't see any electronic RDA. Did they submit an RDA?
Did not get an electronic one.
Did they submit a hard copy?
Yes.
Okay, so I haven't seen
I
that.
haven't seen it.
So we'll talk about it next
It
meeting.
might be down there.
It was quite a pile there, about that thick.
Really? There was nothing there the other day. Goes,
This is Bill Luttrell.
Bill,
Sorry. I had a hard time logging into the friggin' meeting, but so they're moving it from
The left side.
south side of the town beach to the north side of the beach.
yes,
You know, just why are, there's been like the dock at the south side of the beach that people have used for events and stuff. So why all of a sudden do they need to disturb a whole different area of the waterfront? To move, existing kayak racks that seem like it's a decent spot where they are. I mean, they were talking about moving them over to the dam at the bottom of the lake. That was one plan I heard, but nobody seems to like that.
let me tell you, Bill, what I've heard. Nothing official here, but they had an issue with the kayaks, canoes, whatever was there, going through the swimming area on their way out to the lake. For some reason, the south side seemed to be a problem with it more than the north side, but they never were able to use the north side because they couldn't reach the water through the phragmites and the weeds and brush and stuff. So now they want to cut down the north side phragmites, move the dock or put the dock, I don't know what's there now or not there. So, and the boat racks, canoe racks, kayak racks. So they go straight to the water and then I guess they go to the right, head north with the. Am I correct in saying that you're supposed to do counterclockwise paddling or boating on the bowl?
Well, certainly with a speedboat.
I don't know if the kayaks and canoes have any.
I think they have a lot more leeway. I think kayaks and stand-up paddle boards and sailboats, they have completely the right of way. So they can go wherever they want, however they want.
Well,
Yeah,
that was,
I would agree with Chuck on that one.
all right, the issue was that they were in amongst the swimmers.
Right. And my question, being still new, is do we have any issues? Are there any issues for the Conservation Commission for docking over phragmites?
Well, they're gonna have to cut them down before the dock. I don't know what the
Right,
dock.
right. So you cut them down, and then theoretically, if you put a dock on without, that would keep it down also. But
Yeah, they're gonna have to trim. I mean, somebody's gonna have to go in there with a string trimmer at the very least. And
I
cut
mean,
things.
is there an issue with that? With them? With
They're
them
gonna have
doing
to bundle up and take away what they've cut down and make sure that they're not spreading any more seeds. So they're gonna have to be judicious about how they do it.
Time sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I guess my,
granted, there's probably plumes and seeds left from last year there now.
yeah,
Well, so
But
they're
if
gonna
they-
have to be careful about that.
Yeah, but if they get that cleaned up and then they keep at it, they should be able to keep it trimmed down before the things go to seed.
I just, I'm having a hard time seeing why, you know, they've got the thing at the south side of the swimming area. All you have to do is go straight out, you know, towards Beechwood. They're not, I don't think they're in, unless there's buoys or something that says they're actually in the swimming area. What, you know, why are we would want to give them permission to disturb a whole nother area of the shoreline on Stockbridge Bowl, which is like one of our primary responsibilities to protect, you know, when it's not a problem. I just don't see how this is a real problem.
Bill, from what I've heard, they have always launched where they want to launch now. Yes, they moved the racks from one side to the other, but when they did that, they still launched in the same area where they're asking to launch. They just dragged the canoes and the kayaks across or near everybody sitting on the beach. Am I wrong, Ron?
You could be correct. I'm not sure.
So,
Like I said, I wasn't really in a major discussion about why they wanted to do this. I heard, the question to me was, can we cut down the Phragmites and do something in that corner? And I said that the Phragmites are invasive species. You can cut them down, but you can't dig them out, that type of thing. So, and the reasoning was that they wanted to launch the canoes and kayaks from that location.
Marie has her hand up.
Marie?
I think that where the kayak rack was this year, and they have to come out, the rope that ropes off the swimming area, that's
Yeah,
what they have to go through when they go out straight from where they are now. If they were way over on the right-hand side, the way they used to be, and they could put a dock out, they wouldn't disturb their swimming area at all. And if they could put a dock out over the Phragmites, cut the Phragmites, whatever. But I think it's because they have to go through that roped off swimming area where the little kids are, that it makes it difficult. And to drag your kayak, like somebody said, all the way across the beach is difficult as well. So they go straight out through the swimming area. I think that's the problem.
well, there's no one here to present this presentation to us.
Right.
I'm just kind of letting you know what I've heard, that, and things may change. You know, I have nothing in writing or even vocalization of what exactly they want, but that's what I understood.
And not to be argumentative, Bill, but if they want to do something where they're getting rid of the Phragmites, don't we give them a gold star? What are we concerned about? Am I mistaken?
You know, the Phragmites, I agree that's an invasive. It would be great if it was controlled and cut away. I guess, I mean, we're now talking, have we seen a plan? Have we seen a sketch? Do we have pictures? Do we have anything?
Absolutely not.
Well,
We haven't
okay.
done any of that. We're just
So
talking generalities.
We're talking generalities. So, you know, I just sort of need to see to understand the problem. And, you know, if Marie's correct, I get it. You know, if they're inside the roped off area where they're launching, if they do it right from where the racks are. But, you know, as I said, we've had events and stuff down there where there was a dock and boats were coming in and out, and that wasn't part of the swimming area. So,
And I believe that still is, that dock will still be there, but I believe they'd like to launch from the beach, if I'm not mistaken.
But what
From
part of the
level
beach isn't
ground, not to get in and get out without using a dock. It's difficult, as you know, to pull yourself out of a kayak, you know, from a dock that's 18 inches or 12 inches above the water.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah,
I'm.
get in line.
All right, until we get somebody that
Information.
presents us with a plan, we're not gonna rule on this anyways, or give permission one way or the other.
And I'd like a site visit because I don't know
Yeah,
the area. So
well,
once we get the plan, if we can
yeah.
actually go out and look, that would be helpful.
If they figure out
Plan
exactly
is
what
in the box, but
Okay.
we did not receive it digitally.
Okay. Are there, okay,
the
take a look.
box.
Well, I didn't. look it
If
up.
they're gonna stay there, they'll have to keep cutting it every
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
You know, and that'll weaken the plant too.
yeah, and it's just gonna keep getting spreading, and so the more they do to hold it back, the better off it is.
Yeah. Just,
That's to be continued, so someone will come and do a presentation.
May I ask one more quick question? If
Sure.
I don't mean to go down the rabbit hole too far, but if somebody came and said to us they wanted to get rid of Phragmites, how would we recommend, or what makes sense to the Conservation Commission? Just to
Not
let them
use-
cut them down every year and to dig them out? Is digging them out okay or not okay?
No,
To get a permit.
And to not use herbicides.
Right. So if we're trying to avoid the herbicides, what's the gold standard to remove these?
I don't know if there is one.
there is just continual cutting, Chuck,
All right. And again, I'm just trying to understand.
as far as I know.
Sure.
It's not something we would consider lightly.
Hmm.
And, you know, I think we do need to be mindful of allowing the town to do stuff that we wouldn't allow the average homeowner to do. But I think we need to look at it.
Mhm.
I'm not even sure they've got a complete plan for what they want to do with this yet.
It's a
So,
shame. I've went through all of the aerial pictures and there's nothing which shows with all the Phragmites. It's always, I guess, done in the fall there's nothing midsummer on the internet.
all right. I'm sure someone will show up and tell us what they want to do, or what they'd like to do.
There may be that two roller system that, like a ringer, that might pull them out by the roots. I mean, that's,
That's a major root system.
you'd have to have the right equipment. And then it's close to shore, so it's
Yeah.
relatively easily.
I'm sure they're growing up onto the shore too.
Yeah.
Well, that would require a permit, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it because I think the town beach is really important, and I don't think we should make it onerous, but the town doesn't have to pay for it if they have to get a permit because it's the town. So it would be a decent way to make a test case. And maybe we could do it as an experiment. You know, what happens if you pull them up year after year, give them 3 or 4 years to see what comes back or what doesn't come back? Does this seem to be
Mhm.
a reasonable alternative to major work?
Mhm.
Right.
And
Is there
is it
something
something
native that can take over? Is there something native that could compete with them in that same spot? Would be nice.
Well, that's a big discussion.
There might be
Sorry,
some.
guys. I told you. I
something
apologize.
like
No, that's okay, but I
plastic
mean, it's
sheet
a-
or
it's a
rubber sheet or
complicated-
something.
Yeah, maybe even just a backhoe.
Wow. All right, continued.
We should ask David. Maybe he would
Yeah.
have some ideas.
Okay.
So we don't seem to have anything to sign.
No,
Let's start with this upcoming One Ice Glen Road. Wilds.
we don't have anything on it except for the DEP number. We don't have a filing.
The Carriage House, Main Street.
I'm gonna speak about the carriage house
All right.
and,
Lisa's recused from this.
right, but I wanted to speak as an applicant. So the Concom did a site visit to the carriage house, I don't know, last fall. And my understanding was, the Concom said a delineation was needed and the work should stay in the footprint. So there's a couple potential buyers, but the trustees, I'm one of the trustees are thinking of paying for the delineation just to take something away from what the buyers have to pay for. And I contacted David, he said he could do the delineation. And he told me what he thought would be appropriate for the property if it stays on the footprint. And there would be, we'd need to connect to water and electric, but that would be under areas that's already disturbed. So he said he could, if it's agreeable to the Concom, he could find and place survey flags along the BVW boundary, create a simple GIS-based map that depicts the boundary, and prepare BVW delineation data forms to support the boundary. What he
Who
would,
would pay for that, Lisa?
the condominium association.
Okay,
And we're just getting estimates from him. We haven't made a decision yet, but I wanted to just run it by the commission. He said what he wouldn't do unless we, at this point, if all the applicant was doing was staying in the footprints and connecting water and electricity, he wouldn't prepare a wetlands delineation report that would include everything from above plus photographs, rare species habitat, et cetera. He said that would make sense if we went outside of the footprint. So I wanted to know what y'all thought about that.
You're not actually in a resource area.
Well, we don't have the delineation.
Technically, yeah.
Technically, we don't have the delineation yet, so I don't think we're in a resource area, but I don't know until we have a delineation.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I would rather see the condominium association come to us with a wetlands delineation, and I'm not sure David's the one who should do it.
Okay, because
He would then review it.
he will.
He would review it for us.
Yeah,
He
I
would
think it
review
gets
it for you. Okay.
complicated.
Okay. So we should
It's
tell
like,
them now.
like what everyone else does. They bring in their engineers,
Yeah,
whoever. We give them to David, he looks at them and says, that's fine, or I'm gonna go look at it, make sure everything's where it's supposed to
okay, so
be.
you wouldn't have someone that would be able to review it because he would be doing it. Okay,
I'm sure.
I see
Six-
Bill
to
has
one.
his hand up.
Bill,
Oh, yes. So this is a property, I was just on the web. So this is a property that's on the market right now?
yes,
Okay,
it's a carriage house in the back of 41 Main.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, I can tell
answer
him,
your questions.
that answers
Right.
my question.
So as it progresses, let us know, we'll have,
Well, we'll find someone else to do the
Yeah.
delineation and we'll go from there.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Prospect Hill, number 46, sir.
Hi, my name's Kent Higgins. Can everybody see me? Or should I move?
Wave your hand around, like, don't. Yeah, we can see you.
So, I've been in Amherst, Massachusetts for about 30 years and worked with Bay State at the same time and ready to retire. And I've always come out here in the summer. I love the area. Piece of property at 46 Prospect Hill Road went on the market from the owners who bought it in 2011 or thereabouts, 2010. It contains two parcels, two lots, number 21 on the east side, which goes up the hill, and number 29 on the west side, which has a pond in the middle of it.
John Pensily's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm mainly interested in presenting my hopes or plans for putting a small summer place, very small, not a tiny house, but almost, and to see what might be feasible. and what your concerns would be. I don't know if you've seen the map to it. There is a stream on lot 21, the east side, that comes down into the middle. So one of my first questions is that considered permanent or an intermittent stream by the town?
I believe that it's a perennial. I believe that's the one that goes under the road and goes into the McKiernan property.
And perennial means what?
It means
All year
that
long?
under regulations in Massachusetts, it's considered a river.
Okay, so is that someplace in the town documentation?
Should
And
be on Mass GIS. If it's a
Yeah.
named stream, then it,
Yeah, we couldn't
Sure
find
it
it.
is.
We looked, that's why I'm asking.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure it is. It's a really complicated process. Cause it's a really complicated property. It's extremely steep in the back.
Right, no, I've walked it. Yeah,
You've got the pond in the front. If the
Yeah.
previous owners had not removed the garage and the house, it would be a lot easier. Cause you could make some claims for, not necessarily grandfathering, but that it had been built there. That what was there was in fact a tiny house. And really remarkably tiny. And then there's the additional issue of the greenhouse, which had historic history. Well, it did, because it was the greenhouse to Elm Court. And John Pensevie was able to acquire this greenhouse, and then the previous owners unfortunately let that fall to rack and ruin. And they tore down the house, they tore down the garage. And it made it a whole lot more complicated. Plus you've
Right.
got the pond across the way.
right. So it's an expensive piece of property and I don't wanna buy it without knowing I can build on it. So it's a potential catch-22 there. I talked with Tony Campetti yesterday about lot 17, where the sewer has been extended south from Beechwood Drive in the last year, and the town now owns that low pressure sewer. There's probably a at most 800-foot section that might be put in down to where this property is, which would potentially make a septic system unnecessary. And I haven't done the pricing or the quotes, but would, be a significant bonus for the land, not having a septic tank on one side or the other. So I want to ask J.R. Wilkinson about how he did it, whether it's feasible to come in through fill on the south side of the road, not on the ledge side of the road. And, do my civic part there if I'm able to build on the property. I don't know what the setbacks would be or whether Total Wetlands Act would be enforced if this is a perennial stream. And I'm interested in where that is in writing for the DEP or,
You should hire a engineering firm.
right. That's one of the considerations
Yeah.
in the next.
They would do all that.
Due diligence, yeah.
They would be able to define what the
Yes.
stream was,
They would give you where your setbacks would start and where you,
right?
how much property or how
Okay.
large a building you could put on that property.
Yeah,
And I know where it's laid out and there's a lot of ledge up in it.
right. There's a
So-
ledge about 100 feet back.
So.
As soon as you get
they're-
on top of that, it's nice though.
There are several little,
Plateaus,
yeah, right, you go up.
quite nice.
Yeah,
But they would give you different options.
yeah,
Okay, and I'm sure some options might be more affordable than others.
Right,
Probably closer to the road would be,
right. I'm
More
not interested
affordable.
in cutting trees or putting a driveway up to the top,
no,
you know.
That's where it's gonna
just
start to
leave
get
the land as it is,
that's where it's getting expensive when you do that too.
but, yeah, and I'm not interested.
It may be too steep.
Yeah.
I think it may be too steep to do that. I don't
So-
think you've got enough room. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I think it's gonna take some real
Yeah.
clever working ahead of time to figure out what can be done because of the steep slopes.
I'm not even interested in a steep slope. It's
Yeah.
non-starter for me.
But
I'm
it's so
interested-
small, it's such a small piece of property that can be built on. That, yes, I believe that if Tony says you can connect to town sewer, that might make a huge difference as to what you could do, because I'm not even, I don't think there's enough room for a septic system, even if you wanted to put one in.
There was an old one there that White Engineering and Mike Parsons designed in 2011 to take out and replace with a new system. I don't know if that plan was ever submitted to the town. I don't know if it's on the deed. Jeff Lynch says there was a set of conditions that seemed to be attached to the demolition project of taking the garage and the house out. So that's actually a question for the Conservation Commission is, do you know if there is a set of order of conditions that the Blaines were given for building anything new that never made it to the Registry of Deeds?
How long ago?
If there, I can't remember whether there was or not, I remember the project. But I remember at the time that the biggest problem was when they tore down the garage and they tore down the house. And it's now been well over 3 years that there's nothing left of whatever was presented that can be resurrected.
Right, and I'm not concerned about building on an old foundation. I'm more concerned about whether there's room to put a simple thing in there. The Blaines had more of a trophy home plan with all kinds of bells and whistles.
Mhm.
I don't know that it was ever submitted. But I'm thinking of something like a 500 to 600 square foot thing that would fit beyond whatever the buffer would be if it's an intermittent stream. On lot 21 primarily.
Well, the buffer zone is 200 feet.
That seems to depend on how it's defined by DEP. If it's a perennial stream, that's correct.
Yeah.
If it's an intermittent stream, the question I have is, does it come under Wetlands Act?
Is it in
Is
that-
actually intermittent?
Is it in our, I don't know offhand, with our town bylaw, is there an intermittent stream in the town bylaw, Sally?
Yes.
The conservation is responsible for intermittent streams, but intermittent streams don't necessarily come under the Wetlands Act.
Right, but are they in the town bylaw? That's what I'm asking.
Yes,
Yeah, it's there.
With a 200-foot buffer?
150, I think. But I'm pretty sure that in conjunction with the whole business across the street with the McKiernan property, that it was determined that it was a perennial stream.
Oh, I see, okay. That's good to know.
But not guaranteed that that.
And that there would be records because they couldn't sell the house without putting sewer in. The requirements for septic had changed enough that they were stuck with the house
Yeah.
without sewer.
And with that new sewer line up to the corner there, now it's
It's
almost feasible to go there.
That was Tony's
Suggestion.
idea, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, it's within, I mean, he thought that they paid upwards of 60,000 or higher to move it 2,000 feet south from Beechwood Drive, and this is at most something like 800 feet. So I'm not, I just haven't had a quote. I haven't
Yeah.
talked to Wilkinson about how he did it, whether it's feasible or quite, about who engineered all of the McKiernan's project. But, you know, that's certainly my interest, is to not fool around with a septic if it's comparable to just pay for sewer. So,
It'll be an expensive run, 800 feet. I mean,
yeah,
they bore,
I heard upward of $100,000 to do the septic, but or to do the sewer connection. But you
Yeah.
also have a well.
right,
And once again, I think, and I'm only talking off the top of my head, I think if you can't get the sewer connection, that it's not going to be possible.
in relation to the well,
The well's
Build the
already in.
house.
The
Because
well
there are all
is
kinds,
there.
you've got setbacks and it's a tiny lot.
It's a,
Not a tiny lot.
it's the buildable, the down part is smaller. It's what, 3 acres, 4 acres? up?
4 acres, but it's
6.5 acres on
about
each
two,
side of the
two
mountain.
on each side roughly.
And it's 3.5 acres on the west side. It's a total of over 10 acres.
It's big.
But, you know, that's all to be determined by.
So the engineering would be the
Yeah,
next big step.
they would look at it, they do their measurements. They'll sit down and say, well, to make this fit, it's gotta be here. And if it doesn't fit, then you have to come up with another plan.
Right,
They'll give you probably, because you want to stay on the lower level, they'll say, this is your general area. This is the size that you could build in this area.
right,
And this is what you need to do. But
okay,
that's the engineering firms.
right. So a notice of intent would follow that if there was something feasible.
Yes,
And then everything would go step by step after that.
yes.
Right, okay,
There is a foundation for what used to be the greenhouse, still there.
it's there. There's a slurry pit foundation as well, just off the south of the end of the greenhouse. There's what looks like a pump house next to the well.
He used to get his water from up on
The
top.
spring house just above on a ledge is
Yeah.
where the water came from originally. And the well's potable. As of last Tuesday it was, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's helpful. I think that's the sort of just the step-by-step process that I'm looking at. So engineering would be really my next big step.
Yes, I'd contact somebody, check, you know, there's fairly 3 or 4 reliable ones in the Berkshires here.
Right, yeah. And we're waiting for ice out and nobody can see the ground until it's melted, right? At least, yeah.
But talk to them soon, so you're up there on the list.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll be making the rounds, so. And so presumably after an engineering report, I would bring that back to the town,
Yes.
to you all and,
Well, you're going to make your decisions on costs and locations and things like that. But
right,
if you decide that you want to progress with it, you come back to the
Right.
Conservation Commission
okay,
or the planning board or the building inspector.
right, yeah. Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you, yeah.
All right. I'm sure we'll talk to you again.
We'll do due diligence.
Procedure for instituting fines. I think we've pretty much
I think that's all.
got that covered.
Yeah, I took that off.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the wrong one here. Repaving, stormwater damage changes. Bylaw needed.
I don't think we're to the place yet that we're
No,
thinking about a bylaw.
let me talk to Hugh and Powers of B about that.
Okay.
That's the one that's right up the other, across from the cemetery, right up by the lake. The red barn. The driveway into White Pine.
Oh, that's what started
That's
this.
what-
Yeah, exactly, yes, White Pines. But then again, we've explained to them that that's not a town issue because,
I think it's a private road, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not technically.
I mean, they've got a drainage issue, but it doesn't. Maybe if it went under the wrong road in the wrong place, then it would become town issue.
I
But
think we put it down as a possible bylaw because we were talking about Beechwood and they did it at Beechwood and it caused flooding on that woman's property. So just,
Yeah,
Is
there's-
it a private road too?
yes,
so why does the town pay?
Why would you have a bylaw for town?
So if Beechwood is private, why did the town raise the road?
town didn't.
Didn't they, Sally? At Beechwood, I thought the reason we put repaving causing stormwater damage and changes was, part of it was that property we saw at Beechwood where they raised the road and that woman's house and the adjoining properties were really flooded.
But I think it had to do with when we're looking at a property or, a proposal for whatever we're looking at, that we need to take into account if they raise the road. And if by raising the road, they either create a dam or they change the drainage in such a dramatic way that it causes a change in the wetlands, it causes change to the water flow in the area. And I think we thought we were beginning to see a number of instances of that were concerning and that we ought to look at it.
But I'm with Lisa on this. It really came up with that property in Beechwood and it's a private road. Beechwood did that.
Right, but theoretically, somebody would have had to permit it. Which if it were permitted, which not entirely sure that it was. If it was permitted, we did not look at, or the proposal did not look at what the consequences were gonna be.
Yeah, and I thought when we were out there, the conversation was that we didn't know they had done it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
I agree with that. I agree
Yeah,
with
I don't
that.
think it was permitted,
There was no permitting that
right,
I recall.
right, but there were consequences. So that's why we were thinking of some kind of bylaw around there, but.
They were significant consequences. I mean, they're causing significant damage to these people's property. I mean,
Yeah.
in both cases, the one at White Pines and the one in Beechwood, and Beechwood, we know, is just ripe for more drainage issues than it already has.
Right,
But
but people may not even know to come to us. I don't know, I mean, we can think about a bylaw, but people, maybe, does the town do all of that work, even if it's on private property? No.
No,
the only way to get things corrected would be through legal proceedings.
yeah, and then they're upset with us because their houses, they have to replace their bathroom 4 times and
Right, so why don't we,
they have frost heaves and all kinds of stuff, and we need to, I think it's incumbent upon us to at least try and help them out.
so why don't we table this for a Dave conversation and see if he has any thoughts, because he saw that damage.
Yeah.
He's
Beechwood,
been there a couple times.
yeah. It might be good to,
Oh, she's gonna be back, because
they'll be flooded again this year.
gonna
Yeah,
be flooded again in the spring, and it's gonna be, hopefully won't freeze up and cause any more damage.
well, may have already happened, but yeah. Okay,
All right, Kapusa Bog, we haven't heard anything from DEP.
No, then you can take that off, that, that doesn't need to be there.
Not gonna happen, not yet. Still in,
You want to take just a second, Ron?
yeah, okay.
On Beechwood, a few years ago, there were complaints. And we took a look at that. And this is Mackinac Road right here. I just did a little sketch. And this is Beechwood Road going down here. Here's the way to Shippey's place and around.
Yeah.
And it looked like the flow was coming down off the hill through this, like this. And it's relatively flat, so it's hard to see. And it looks like this road, as it got built up, became a dam to hold back this water that was coming down the hill
Mhm.
by
Probable.
6 inches or something, it wasn't, not a lot. But that looked like what would be happening. And you'd have to have more culverts to allow that to flow underneath.
But then again, it's not town property anyway.
It's up for, whoever owns the road.
But they need to come to us. I think people don't know that they need to come to us.
Yeah, if they want to start changing, if they want to start changing the drainage and stuff like that, they'd have to come to us.
It's a civil matter,
Yeah.
at this point, yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna do it for them. We'll tell them what's wrong.
I even hesitate to, they have to figure it out, I think.
Yeah. What ends up happening is they come in and they say, oh, my trees are dying. Well,
The house is
because now
coming.
they're standing in 6 inches of water.
This never used to be wet, now it's wet.
Yeah.
That's a discussion.
Best we can do is look at it and give suggestions.
Did I show you that?
Forestry Commission?
Because people do things.
We meet Monday. If there's something new, I'll tell you at the next meeting.
Haven't heard anything from the railroad. Land acquisition.
Oh, do we want to talk about the Moffett property? So that's been offered up for sale. The town has first right of refusal at $600,000.
Yeah,
And I don't know. It sounded like from what I heard, Michael wasn't all that interested.
I spoke with Michael briefly last night. He said the town would be interested if it was developable. The
Yeah, well,
town-
that's what I was hoping we could get David to look at it and see how much of it is developable. Because most of it, to my memory, is a wetland and
Mhm.
not developable. So
Right.
it may not be developable at all.
Yep.
We've had this conversation with Mr. Moffett before. He wanted to drain the swamp so he could develop it. And we told him that he couldn't do that. And if you look at the map, almost the whole property is wet. And I don't know if people remember the issue that poor Mr. Olsher had, who has the piece of property that's in the middle of that large piece. But his septic system failed. He had to get a new, he had to go, I think across, as I remember, he had to go across the street to get, to hook up with Brookside in order to have a septic system. It was horrifically expensive. If it's an unbuildable lot, then it's gonna stay undeveloped anyway. If it's not an unbuildable lot, that's a different story. How much of it, there isn't that much we can protect, I don't think, anyway.
Have we seen a map of this property?
We need that big map. We had.
Yeah,
Let's continue this. We'll
Yep.
break out a map, have everybody look at it.
Okay,
Uh,
I just want to, I'm looking at the Mass GIS mapper of John Pensafe's property. And while I don't have the calculations, the stream calculations, there is a stream that map that goes through the property across the street, north of the pond, through 12 Interlaken Crossroads into the wetland on the north side of Interlaken Crossroad. It's a huge area, and I'm pretty sure that we checked at one point and that somewhere in the world it has a name, which means it's a
Is
named
there,
stream. And,
is,
and,
is there a name? No name on it?
yeah, but
On the
there are a
GIS?
couple, there's nothing on the GIS map. but
How
there-
old is that, Sally? What's the date?
It's current.
Current, okay.
Well, that's why the sewer line ended where it ended, because it was so wet on that side of the road, it was 17, I believe, that they couldn't find an area for a septic system. So she was caught between a rock and a hard place that she had to, whoever it
The
was.
stream comes down the hill.
To the
from the top.
pond.
Doesn't connect to the pond. It goes.
And connects down to the pond, so it has a huge hydrological.
Show that it goes along the road, turns right and goes north along the road, under the road to the McKiernan property. Pond is a separate water system with stream draining out of it to the southeast.
She's talking about two different ponds, I think.
Oh.
The McKernan pond is. I think.
Oh, yeah, separate
Yeah,
McKiernan.
it's all part
That's
of
what,
the same-
that gets the water.
Yeah, there's a
Part
lot
of the same thing.
to the east of all that.
Anyways, your engineers will
Right,
draw that all out, it'd be
yeah,
explained and on paper, and
following tomorrow.
there'll be no discussion on what's what.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing?
I seconded.
All in favor?
I,
Aye, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Feel better, Sally.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So
So I will get something about the dock. Or,
Can I ask you a quick question of the commission?
yes,
Yeah, so a couple of meetings ago, we approved the removal of some willows on the east edge of Stockbridge. And I assume we were involved because the willows are close to the Housatonic. So they potentially impacted geologic characteristics and so on. And they were being removed partly for safety, partly for the fact that if they fell over, they would remove a large portion of the property.
my understanding was they weren't in good shape anymore, that they were pretty much past their life expectancy. They were huge trees, but various portions of them weren't there anymore. They'd come down.
Okay, because it just struck me that willows are, really good at holding banks. And I was just in Britain a couple years ago and watched them pollard a bunch of willows that were anchoring some banks along the upper Thames. And I wondered whether in some of these cases we could suggest, instead of removing trees, especially willows, that they be pollarded. And then that reduces the probability of falling over, right, and tearing up the bank, but it leaves the root system intact.
Right.
It really does anchor the edge of the stream. Do we ever do that around here? Pollarding?
The approval was not to stump the property.
The stump, they're gonna be left, Rich. It's the brook, I'm on one side and the Bradshaws are on the other. And Rich, they have no intention of going down to the ground with the cutting of them. But right before we bought our house, one of them came over from Rich's property, right across. It just came right down there. Pieces of those willows that are so old. I mean, I'm worried about some of the ones I have. So we want to save every tree we can.
Yeah.
And I know the Bradshaws, Rich does as
Well,
well.
Rich is gonna replant.
And he's going to replant a lot of things
Mhm.
in that area because who wants to look at, the stump minus the gorgeous tree?
But to answer your question, when we get those requests, we can always, you included, can always go out and take a look at the property, and on the request form, there's suggestion, we can make a suggestion. So you can always make a suggestion. Yeah.
So these particular trees they're going to be cut. They're going to be cut to a stump, but they won't.
They will sprout.
Yes,
Yeah, they're not gonna be dead.
Okay, well, that will be good in keeping the root system intact and keeping
Yeah.
the ground.
Yeah.
But I understand now what you're getting at, and so
yeah,
yeah, that it makes more sense to me now. But that's just these were big old willow trees in England, and they were doing I was worried that they were taking them down, but no, they just
no,
cut off enough to reduce the top heaviness and left them intact. But they may
Yes.
not have been as old as the ones you have. These look pretty healthy, but it's just an interesting process.
Mhm.
yeah.
Nothing has been done to these trees.
No,
50 years,
Yeah.
probably, or more.
Yeah.
So they branched out, the branches are broken, they've come down in pieces, they're stubs.
yeah. It's terrible.
If you wanted to spend enough money, I suppose you could go in there and prune them and trim them, but still, there's no guarantees that the rot hasn't gone down through the middle of the tree or in one of the broken branches, that type.
I have one that's totally split.
But feel free to always go out and look, because
Yeah.
Ron goes a lot, I've gone to some, you can always go look and make a suggestion.
When shows up, we'll post it to the members and.
Yeah, yeah, because they're always interesting to see.
Yeah.
And you cover a lot of town.
Have you come on a site visit yet?
No, I have not. I'm
Okay.
looking forward.
They're good.
I missed
I
the
mean,
one I missed the one at Creepaloo, but I'm game for any others.
well, with spring, we'll probably do a lot, and it's.
Yeah, it's a little
I find it's so much,
mushy right now.
it's
little
so,
mushy.
it's much better than sitting here and listening to what the proposal is, when you can go out and actually
Yeah.
see.
Okay, thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week.